Hi everybody, my name is Lex Gray. Welcome to my video. These will be 5 tabletop role-playing games that I highly recommend for your solo RPG experience. Let's start with the first one, which is by far my favorite RPG system out there. It is used quite often by the solo RPG community, and that's how I found it myself some time ago. Maze Rats by Ben Milton, also known as Questing Beast on YouTube. Maze Rats is a very rules light system. It has one page for character creation and one page for rules. Now, it also includes a plethora of content generation. Let's go through the book. So, again, writing by Ben Milton, covered by DC Stove. Here is everything on how to play the game. This is a 2d6 system. You basically try to roll at a target number of what is typically 10 or higher. You include 3 of the character attributes. You have strength, dexterity, and willpower. That's basically it. There is no additional 3. It's just going to be those. You do pose rolls, there's advantage, disadvantage, you have initiative, combat, which is very simple. You have NPC morale, healing, encumbrance, and a leveling system up to 7. Now this is the character creation. This is all it. It actually is mainly this half here. These are more flavor for your character. You have appearance, physical detail, background, clothing, personality, mannerism, and then your name, level, and XP. So again, very OSR inspired, but with 2d6. Your attributes don't really go higher than 2 from the start, and you can surely level up beyond that. So, like I said, there is a great amount of content generation. Magic is fun in the system. It's always innovative and random. There is no preset list of spells. You always have a fresh new spell you can create based on these tables. You have monsters and animals. You have all of these vague terms to help you create your own. You have characters. You can do names and some flavor for those characters. More continuing on from characters. And the rest is more for treasure, locations, so on and so forth. So again, The Wild, I recommend picking this book up if you're looking for a game that not only is rules light, but also a very handy tool for solo play and world building. This is the character sheet. There's also a good amount of character sheets online if you want to find one for your own liking. But this is a 2-page one you can copy and print. And like I said, this game is very affordable, and you can hack it too. The creator welcomes that. So again, Maze Rats, the creator also made games like Knave, and is also having a new system in the works at the moment. So that is Maze Rats. That's my #1 pick for your solo play session. Next is a very popular and free online if you just want to download it, Cairn. This is the 2nd edition. The 1st edition, which looks like this, is equally as fun. Cairn 2 just expands on it. So this is from the box set that I happened to find locally. Cairn 2 is, Cairn, I should say, is a simple d20 roll under system. There is no attack roll. You don't roll for attack, and if you hit, you roll damage like in D&D sense. You actually just roll damage, minus armor. Character creation is very quick, much like Maze Rats. You have backgrounds this time, which is more prominent than the prior edition of Cairn. Hit points is very low, but it's known as hit protection. Once you get past that, you then reduce your attributes based on the damage you take. Inventory is typically tied up to 10, with heavier items taking up more slots. This game has, again, Cairn 2 has expanded on some flavor. There's a marketplace, and my favorite thing about this game, besides the additions of all these backgrounds, or I should say expanding on the backgrounds, are the spells. So there is I think in this one, or in the referees, the warden, which is known as the game master in other games, there are spells. So I don't believe it's actually in this copy here, but the reason why I want to focus on spells is because this is something I borrow heavily into other systems. Anyone can wield a spellbook, and after you use a spellbook, depending on your role, it's done. There's also scrolls and relics. So again, spells are very chaotic in this game. And like I said, anybody can use a spellbook. The spellbook is basically one spell, and in the Warden's Guide, which I don't have here on the table, there are, I believe, up to 100 spells that are all very unique. So again, this is Cairn 2nd Edition. Very simple roll under system. You have similar attributes to Maze Rats with strength, dexterity, and willpower. So there's a similarity there to Maze Rats to continue our consistency. And all you need is a d20 and your usual polyhedral dice. So that is Cairn. Again, it's free online. You can also print a copy. Next is a game from another YouTuber, DM Scotty. This is Easy D6. The title is very accurate. This game is very simple. You only roll a d6. There's your target numbers you roll at. The game emphasizes and consistently reminds you to just have fun. Make rulings on the spot. Rulings over rules is what really makes the system fun. Gives the players a lot of freedom, and the game master, the rabble-rouser, in this sense, to just go with the flow. And again, there is a good amount of dice rolling and a good amount of rules to consider, but there's also a lot of freedom for the characters. You also have some character types. Brute. Great artwork. Again, this is DM Scotty. He is a YouTuber, much like the other few I've shown you so far. And there are banes and boons in this one, which are common terms found in other systems, but banes and boons basically just give you more d6s to roll while choosing the either best or worst result. I'd say this one probably has my favorite designs out of these choices. But again, d6 you roll at or above to be successful. The Game Master is called a rabble-rouser in this one. And I don't play Easy D6 enough, really. I've played it a few times on my channel, but I've heard many great things about the system online because of just how simple it is, where you just basically need in a small assortment of D6s. So that is Easy D6. The title is not misleading in that department. The last two on my list are very heavy on narrative and abstract play. First is Ironsworn. Now, don't get me wrong, there is dice rolling in this game. You do have a character sheet with plenty to consider, but it's very focused on narrative and abstract representation of your playthrough. Now, the book is quite big. There are 200 plus pages in this book, but once you learn the system, it's basically fairly straightforward. So playing Ironsworn, you basically roll one dice compared to two competing dice. It's based on the Powered by the Apocalypse system with a slight modification. So you roll a d6, you add up you include your modifiers, and you try to beat two other dice. If you beat at least one dice, it's considered a weak hit. So considering that with the narrative, you are successful, but there's going to be a slight complication. A strong hit is when you beat both dice, which I believe are d8s, or d10s. I could be mistaken there, but there are, here we go. There are two d10s, the challenge dice. And then you want to roll your d6 plus your stat. There's also a couple, another modifier to consider. And if you, again, beat both dice, it's a major hit, it's a strong hit, and you are successful. Now, if you happen to have matches, then you basically increase you make it more exaggerated. If you exceed matching dice, it's a strong hit, but with a benefit. So it's like an advantage. If you fail matches, then it is a severe consequence, not just a simple no. So the great thing about this game is that it has a bunch of paths with your journeys you take. So again, this game emphasizes journeys, which you track with these ticks here on your character sheet. And if we go to the character sheet here, I believe it's on the back side, if I'm not mistaken, then it will show you, I actually am mistaken there. I think it's going to be in a different spot. Let's look for that character sheet together. Here it is. It's basically a sample. So here's your character sheet. You have your stats at the top as Edge, Heart, Iron, Shadow, and Wits, all covering uh, a certain category of your character. You have momentum, which you can burn to increase your result. You have health, which are locked in at 5, spirit, and then supply. So my favorite thing about this game is the abstract representation of equipment. You're not tracking individual items, it is just your general supply. So once you reach 0, you're probably in need to search for more equipment. Now, another great interesting thing here, which might drive a few people away depending on how involved you want to get with page turning. There is supplements out there, especially if you search for, I believe, Lone Star, it gives you moves. So when you roll your dice, you look at these moves and they give you the results to help you shape out your narrative. So again, this game works best, I think, in a sandbox environment, going into a journey within that sandbox. And these moves help you drive the story along. So this game is heavily favored for solo play because it helps you with its own oracle system in this. So not only the moves, but it has its own oracles and tables to help you get content. So not only it helps you with that, but you don't have to be making everything up on the spot. This book has its own oracle. If you're used to a Mythic GM emulator, then I recommend taking a look into this one. Now, this one is baked for this game. It might be difficult to take it out for another system, but I'd say the mileage may vary. So here's probably going to be the most commonly used tables during your play. Is action and theme. And again, these all relate to your moves. So the moves is what will read your results depending on your roll. So again, Ironsworn, as many pages as it is, if you find the Lodestar supplement, which I recommend looking online for, it will give you a more compact version so there's not much page flipping and it's a bigger book. And luckily, I had this close by. This is the Ironsworn Lodestar. It's a great reference guide for the game. Gives you a compact, large version of the book. Again, the book is fairly thick, but this is a great quick go-to that you can keep at the table with you, so you don't have to go through all those pages. So here's a big representation of the character creation, and it shows you ways you can create your stats. So you can make grim or just challenging. Goes up to 4 for stat. Here are the dice roll mechanics. I actually was possibly mistaken on the dice roll. You have to exceed to be successful. The Ironsworn stage Starforged, which is the sci-fi equivalent of this fantasy one, I believe in that one you match or exceed to be successful. So here is project tracks for Journey. Journey is vows, I should say, are very common in this game. That helps you build your narrative. Again, this is very abstract compared to more specific, narrow approach to RPG where you focus on the scene itself. This one is more zoomed out in the story, but still, I think equally fun if you like that kind of play. So here are all the moves, making moves, adventure moves. See, the results tell you on a strong hit, a weak hit, a miss. It basically branches out into other paths, and it tells you to take momentum and take damage, increase, decrease your supply, etc. Battle is a great quick little compressed version of combat, especially if one you want to get through really quick. Enter the phrase more focused, but still pretty abstract. And then there's suffer moves, quest moves, fate moves. And there's also a new addition to the Ironsworn family. Ironsworn, I don't think I have it myself, but it's called Ironsworn Delve. I was mistaken. I do have it. This is Ironsworn Delve. It's obviously basically like Ironsworn, an extension. It does require the original game, but this helps you develop things for dungeon diving. So I recommend getting Delve 2. Here is Starforged. It's its own little system compared to its brethren, Ironsworn, which is, again, fantasy, sci-fi. This is basically a similar system. It has all of the rules and sci-fi oracle generation and tables with all of its moves. I don't have a Lone Star version. I'm not sure if there is one of Starforged, but there is something, I think, online that helps you in a similar case as Lone Star would. So this is basically my little collection, but in a sense, really, I recommend to get started with Ironsworn. It are these two components, the rules itself to get started and the Lone Star book to help you when you are playing. As much as I enjoy Ironsworn, if you're looking for a game that's very rules light, heavy on narrative, that is going to be Fate. Fate comes in several flavors. There is Accelerated, there is Fate Condensed, and then there is the core Fate system. Now, you might notice the Fate family, as consistent as it is, these are a little different. I'd say Fate Condensed and Fate Core are going to be the closest together. Fate Accelerated, it's a little out there and much more compact, hence despite the title Fate Condensed. Now, Fate Core, again, these games are very heavy on narrative, so you're using what are Fate dice. These are dice, D6 shaped dice with 6-sided faces with plus, negative, and a blank face. Basically, that is what you're rolling, and you're adding them up based on, depending on the system you use, based on your stats. So again, this is Fate Core, but I would show you Fate Condensed because Fate Condensed is a great condensed version of Fate Core and closest to the Fate Core system. So here is the character sheet. Really, you have aspects, stunts, your vitals, which is essentially your health, and skills. So we'll talk about Fate Accelerated in a second, as it's a little different when you look at this section here, skills. So you have in each session 3 fate points that you can spend for various things. Most important with those fate points is to use an aspect of your character. Aspect represents your character from a zoomed out perspective. Basically, high concept is what your character, who your character is and what they are best known for. Trouble is something holding the back, whether it's tied to the narrative or some backstory. Relationship is something with another player. In solo play, it could be an NPC, family member, an ally, a arch nemesis, etc. Remember, these are universal systems. I forgot to mention that. Fate is universal, works with any setting out there compared to the other games I went through. Other aspects are some things you don't have to create on the spot at the start, but they can probably develop later on. Stress is basically your physical and mental stress when you take damage. And then skills, it shows you right here how to create. Basically, your character creation process happens on this one page here. Your skills are modifiers you add to your D-Fate dice rolls, and you typically go for, you're shooting for a ladder. So the book has the rules on this little compressed version here, and I also have a card. So this little card here, I don't recall if this one was specific for Fate Core, Accelerated, or Condensed, but it is universal in my opinion. There is the ladder. So based on the difficulty of the action being taken, you have these ladder modifiers here. These are your target numbers in the D&D comparison. So 0 is mediocre. It's probably going to be easy for your character to do. +2 is fair. I say you probably will have most difficulties between +2 to +4. That's been my occurrence here on my channel when I've used Fate. And then obviously the +8 is extremely difficult. You roll your 4 D-Fate dice, and you count those results up. Plus is +1, negative is -1, blank is 0, nothing added on. And then you include the skill you're using, plus you can use an aspect which gives you typically a +2. Now, there's also stunts. Stunts are more frequently used and typically don't cost anything. These are more specific skills your character has, more specific talent, stunts. So consider like they have a robotic arm, or they are good at reading people. Again, stunts are great things. I typically like to use stunts for specific weapons, like their main weapon of choice, or even their main armor, which can help you in their actions. So again, stunt this game is very open. You can make your character as you want, and this ladder is a great go-to and does everything you need. Now there are four types of actions in this game. You have overcome, create an advantage, attack, and defend. That's it. That sums up everything you need to do. And then based on the results, you have your outcomes here, kind of like Powered by Apocalypse, similar to Ironsworn. Results will vary. You fail, basically, you fail at a major cost. Tie, it's a zero shift. Now, a shift, I think, is two or more above the result. Basically, you succeed with one or two shifts, succeed at no cost, and then succeed with style. 3+ is those numbers. Sorry, 3+ is the result is 3 or higher than the latter one you were trying to go for. So let me correct myself here. Succeed if it's one or two shifts. Shifts are basically one or more result higher. Succeed a style gives you 3+. You succeed with an added benefit. So that's like your strong hit from Ironsworn comparison. And the other side of this card is basically invoking your aspect, which again costs you. It can help you out in these three different ways. Compelling is when you use either something from the world setting, the stunt, or the aspect. Again, the game is very free form. You typically compel trouble, and you can spend a fate point to resist it, or you take it as you can. You allow the trouble to hold you back, but you might get a fate point in exchange for that. So it makes the role play moment more exciting, even if it's a setback for your character. So again, this is Fate. Overall, that's Fate Condensed mainly. Fate Accelerated is my, from time to time, favorite option of the Fate family. Now, the main difference here is the approaches. You don't have skills, you have a method to the approach of your action. So the character sheet looks a little simpler, a little more organized in my opinion. You have your typical aspects. You have all your stunts, plenty of room for stunts. I think you can typically start with 2 stunts. If you want to do more, you have to sacrifice a fate point at the start of a session. So if you have 2 stunts, you're good. 3 stunts, you take away 1 fate point that you are capped at, so that you only have 2 per session. And again, that refreshes at the start of each session, and you can gain stunt or fate points based on your great role playing, or you succeed at something great, like a monumental task. Here are the approaches: careful, clever, flashy, forceful, quick, and sneak. Similar arrangement to skills, but slightly more condensed. So approaches, in my opinion, work pretty well. Now, quite often on my channel, I've jailbroke this, hacked it to where these are actually the D&D style attributes. There are 6 of them, so strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. Basically, there's a character sheet I found online that's similar to this, but it's horizontal, and it just has those 6. Take it as you want. If you like these ones, it surely helps out. But I think Fate is a simple, great, quick game to teach your friends, or again for solo play, because it is more, it emphasizes narrative over, complicated, crunchy rules. If you like complicated, crunchy rules, Fate might not be for you. I've heard a lot of negative things about this game from local game stores and players who prefer the bigger systems, to at least start with D&D 5 as an example, or heavier systems from there. But in my opinion, I love the Fate system. It's probably been my most actively used system in my recent, I'd say, 6 months plus. But yeah, I really don't mind the simplification of this game. But compared to the other systems, which are other great choices, again, we've talked about Easy 6, Cairn, Maze Rats, and of course, Ironsworn. So these are the 5 systems, plus their extra flavors out there, that I recommend for solo play. So that's really it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please feel free to share your favorite system down below, and maybe your favorite solo RPG experience. That's going to be it. Please feel free to subscribe, like, share, and comment, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.